I walked into what I thought was my birthday party to find 50 people yelling "Surprise!" surrounded by pink balloons and baby decorations. My sister beamed. "We threw you a baby shower, Whitney." There was one problem. I wasn't pregnant. My mother started crying about finally getting a grandchild. I grabbed my purse and said, "I'm not pregnant. Send receipts." Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this story, because what happens next will leave you absolutely stunned. What do you mean you're not pregnant? My sister Kelsey's smile froze on her face like a glitch in a video game. Behind her, 50 people, co-workers, family members, neighbors I barely knew, stood in frozen silence, holding champagne glasses and wearing expressions of confusion. I mean exactly what I said. I'm not pregnant. I gestured at my body in my favorite burgundy dress, the one I'd worn specifically because it was my 30th birthday, and I'd wanted to feel confident. This is just weight. Regular weight that women carry on their bodies. I gained 15 pounds dealing with work stress. That doesn't equal pregnancy. The room erupted in whispers. I saw my Aunt Denise lean toward her daughter, mouths moving behind hands. My coworker Jennifer, who I'd thought was my friend, looked mortified. And my mother, Patricia, stood near the elaborate 3-tier diaper cake, tears streaming down her face. "But you've been so tired lately," my mother said, her voice breaking. "And you turned down wine at dinner last month. And you're glowing. Everyone said so." I was tired because I've been working 60-hour weeks managing the downtown hotel renovation. I turned down wine because I was on antibiotics for a sinus infection. And glowing is apparently code for gained weight and you need an excuse. "Whitney, honey." My father tried to intervene, but I held up my hand. Who planned this? I looked around the room at my local community center, elaborately decorated with pink and white streamers, a massive banner reading "Baby Girl Mitchell," tables piled high with wrapped gifts, and enough pink cupcakes to feed an army. Who decided to throw a baby shower for someone without asking if they were actually pregnant? Kelsey stepped forward, defensive now. "We wanted it to be a surprise. We thought you were hiding it because you weren't ready to announce. So you decided to announce it for me? At what you told me was my birthday dinner? We were excited. Mom's been wanting a grandchild for years. And I've been telling Mom for years that I'm not sure I want children. But apparently, my bodily autonomy and life choices matter less than your assumptions about my weight gain." The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel 50 pairs of eyes on me. Some sympathetic, most horrified. A few clearly still confused about whether I was lying about not being pregnant. My mother approached me, mascara running down her cheeks. "Whitney, we just thought, we hoped. I've been praying every night for you to start a family. You're 30 now. Your window is closing." "My window?" I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Mom, I'm a successful architect. I manage million-dollar projects. I own my own condo. I travel internationally for work. My window for having a fulfilling life has been wide open this entire time. What's closing is my patience for this family treating me like a walking womb." "That's not fair," Kelsey started. "What's not fair is throwing someone a baby shower without confirming they're pregnant. What's not fair is making assumptions about someone's body. What's not fair is putting me in front of 50 people and embarrassing me because you couldn't pick up a phone and ask a simple question." I grabbed my purse from where I'd dropped it and headed for the door. "Whitney, wait!" my mother called. "What about all this? The decorations, the food, the gifts. We spent thousands of dollars." I turned back at the door, and I'll never forget the next words that came out of my mouth. "Send me receipts for everything you spent. I'll reimburse you for my fake baby shower since apparently I'm the one who needs to pay for your assumptions." Then I walked out into the parking lot, got in my car, and drove home, hands shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. The texts started within 10 minutes. "Kelsey, you humiliated Mom in front of everyone. She's devastated." My cousin Brianna. That was really harsh, Whitney. She was just excited. My Aunt Denise. Your mother spent weeks planning that party. The least you could do is be grateful. Jennifer from work. OMG, Whitney. I had no idea. Your sister told me you were pregnant and swore me to secrecy. I feel terrible. I turned my phone off and poured myself the largest glass of wine I could find. Not because I needed to drink, though I did, but because I wanted the symbolic middle finger of it. The wine I'd refused that had convinced my mother I was pregnant. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called my therapist's emergency line. Dr. Sandra Okonkwo called me back within 20 minutes. I explained what had happened, the words tumbling out between tears and rage. Whitney, she said when I finished, what you experienced is a violation. They made assumptions about your body, ignored your stated choices about parenthood, and publicly humiliated you based on those assumptions. Your anger is valid. Everyone's acting like I'm the bad guy for walking out. Because you disrupted the fantasy they'd created. They don't want to face that they made a massive mistake. It's easier to make you the villain than admit they were wrong. My mother spent thousands of dollars that you didn't ask her to spend, that she chose to spend without confirming the basic premise of the celebration. That's not your responsibility to fix. But she's my mother, and you're her daughter. That doesn't mean you owe her reimbursement for a party celebrating an event that isn't happening. I thought about that. About the assumption I'd internalized that I owed my family something just because they were family. That their hurt feelings mattered more than my boundaries. What should I do? I asked. What do you want to do? I thought about it. Really thought about it. And I realized I wanted them to understand what they'd done. I wanted them to face consequences. I wanted them to stop treating my life like their property. I want to send them a bill, I said. For what? For my time, my emotional distress, the humiliation, everything. There was a pause. Then Dr. Okonkwo said something I'll never forget. Then do it. Set the boundary. Show them you're serious. I spent the next day creating the most detailed invoice of my life. Years of architecture training had taught me precision, and I applied every bit of it to this document. Invoice for emotional damages and time lost from Whitney Ava Mitchell, architect. 2. The Mitchell family date, October 15, 2024. Unauthorized baby shower event services rendered. Involuntary. Emotional labor and distress. Public humiliation in front of 50-plus attendees. $5,000. 3 hours of therapy to process trauma. $750. Damage to professional reputation. Co-workers present. $2,500. Loss of actual 30th birthday celebration. $1,000. Emotional distress from body shaming implications. $3,000, subtotal. $12,250 time lost. Travel time to and from event, 2 hours. 150 hour. $300, time spent at event before walking out. 15 minutes. $37.50, time spent responding to family texts and calls. 4 hours, average 150 hour. $600, time spent drafting this invoice. 2 hours, average 150 hour. $300, subtotal. $1,237.50, opportunity costs. Missed actual birthday celebration with friends, $800. Missed client dinner rescheduled due to emotional state, $2,000. Lost productivity during work week, $1,500. Subtotal, $4,300 total. Due, $17,187.50. Payment terms, due upon receipt. No family discount applied, as this invoice represents the cost of your family's disregard for basic communication and respect. Note: this invoice is non-negotiable. However, I will accept a formal written apology from each person involved in planning this event, delivered within 30 days, in lieu of payment. The apology must acknowledge the harm caused, commit to respecting my bodily autonomy going forward, and pledge to ask before making assumptions about my life choices. I attached the invoice to an email and sent it to my mother, father, sister, and the group chat that had been blowing up my phone with accusations and guilt trips. Then I waited. The response was immediate and explosive. My father called within 5 minutes. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Whitney, this is absurd. You can't bill your family for a party they threw out of love. Call me back so we can discuss this like adults." My sister texted, "Are you insane? $17,000? For what? Being told people love you? Get over yourself." My mother's text was longer. "I don't understand why you're being so cruel. I worked so hard on that party. I wanted to celebrate what I thought was the happiest moment of your life. And you're sending me a bill? Is this what I raised? Someone who puts a price tag on family?" I responded to the group chat with one message. "You put a price tag on it when you spent thousands without asking. I'm just quantifying the actual cost of your assumptions. Payment or written apologies. Your choice." Then I muted the chat and went to work. At the office the next day, Jennifer approached my desk looking mortified. "Whitney, I am so sorry. Your sister told me you were pregnant and were keeping it quiet until the shower. She swore me to secrecy and said you'd be thrilled with the surprise. I had no idea you didn't know about it. Jennifer, you didn't do anything wrong except believe my sister. But I need you to understand something. I'm not pregnant. I'm not planning to get pregnant. And if I ever change my mind, I'll be the one to announce it." Of course, absolutely. And for what it's worth, I think what they did was horrible. Making assumptions about someone's body like that. She trailed off, shaking her head. "Thank you." She hesitated. "That invoice you sent, is that real? The emotional cost? Absolutely. The actual payment? I'll settle for a genuine apology acknowledging what they did wrong." Good for you, seriously. More people need to set boundaries like that. I appreciated Jennifer's support, but I could tell the office gossip mill was churning. People kept glancing at me, whispering. I'd become that woman whose family threw her a baby shower when she wasn't pregnant. It was humiliating in a different way, but I held my head high and did my work. 3 days passed with no contact from my family. Then, on Thursday evening, my doorbell rang. My mother stood on my doorstep, looking smaller and older than I'd ever seen her. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I let her in, though every instinct told me to protect myself. We sat in my living room, and she twisted her hands in her lap like a child in trouble. "I owe you an apology," she said finally. "A real one. Not the kind where I apologize but explain why I did it or make excuses. Just, I'm sorry." I waited. "I'm sorry for assuming you were pregnant without asking. I'm sorry for planning a party based on that assumption. I am sorry for spending money and inviting people and creating this huge event without confirming the most basic fact, whether you were actually having a baby." Tears started rolling down her cheeks. "I'm sorry for making assumptions about your body, for treating your weight gain like it must mean something other than just weight gain, for making you feel like your value to this family is tied to whether or not you have children." She looked up at me, and I saw genuine remorse there. "Most of all, I'm sorry for the message this whole thing sent, that what you want for your life doesn't matter as much as what I want for you. That's not true. It shouldn't be true. You're an amazing woman with an incredible career and a beautiful life, and whether or not you ever have children, that doesn't change." I felt my own tears starting. "Thank you. I know the invoice was your way of making us understand how much this hurt, and it worked. $17,000 in emotional damages. When I saw that number, really saw it, I understood. We didn't just embarrass you. We violated your trust and your autonomy. We made you pay an emotional price for our assumptions. You did. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want you to know I'm working on it. I'm seeing my own therapist now, talking about why I was so obsessed with becoming a grandmother that I ignored my daughter's actual life and choices." That surprised me. "You're in therapy?" "Your father insisted. After he read your invoice, he sat me down and said we'd crossed a line. that we'd hurt you in a way that might be permanent if we didn't acknowledge it and change. She smiled sadly. He was right. I've been so focused on what I thought your life should look like that I forgot to appreciate what it actually looks like. We talked for another hour. She told me about the therapy, about realizing how much pressure she'd put on me over the years to follow a specific life script. About understanding that her dreams for my life weren't the same as my dreams for my life. It wasn't perfect. One conversation couldn't undo years of pressure and expectation, but it was a start. Over the next 2 weeks, I received written apologies from everyone who'd been involved in planning the shower. Kelsey's was the hardest to read. Whitney, I thought I was doing something nice. I thought you were hiding a pregnancy because you were scared or uncertain, and I wanted to show you that you had support. Instead, I showed you that I don't listen, that I make assumptions, that I care more about my idea of your life than your actual life. I'm sorry. I'm working on being better, on asking instead of assuming, on respecting your choices even when they're different from what I'd choose. My father's was short but meaningful. I'm sorry for not stopping this. I saw what was happening and I didn't speak up because I didn't want to disappoint your mother. I prioritized her feelings over yours. That was wrong. You deserved better from me. Even my Aunt Denise, who'd been so quick to criticize, sent a card. I'm sorry for my response. You had every right to be angry. I hope we can move past this. The apologies kept coming. Some were perfunctory, some were genuine. All of them acknowledged, in one way or another, that they'd crossed a line. I kept every single one in a folder labeled Boundaries. A month after the shower that wasn't, my family threw me an actual birthday dinner. Small, intimate, just parents and sister. No surprises, no assumptions. Before we ate, my mother stood and raised her glass. To Whitney, who is exactly where she's supposed to be in life, doing exactly what she should be doing, being exactly who she should be. We're proud of you. Not for any milestones you haven't hit, but for all the ones you have. I cried into my wine glass. The good wine. The wine I was drinking publicly and obviously because I wasn't pregnant and never had been. Thank you, I managed. Kelsey added, and if you ever do decide to have kids, or not have kids, or adopt kids, or foster kids, or get 17 cats, we'll support whatever you choose, after asking first. We laughed. It was tentative, fragile, but real. 6 months later, I'm 30 and thriving. I got promoted to senior architect. I'm leading the design on a mixed-use development downtown. I've lost some of the stress weight, gained some of it back, and stopped caring what the number on the scale means to anyone else. My relationship with my family is different now, better in some ways. We have boundaries. We ask before assuming. We respect each other's choices, even when we don't understand them. My mother still occasionally mentions grandchildren. Old habits die hard, but now she catches herself. Sorry, that's my issue, not yours, she'll say. And I'll smile and say, I know, Mom. The invoice is framed on my wall. Not because I'm proud of having to send it, but because I'm proud of standing up for myself. Of putting a price on something that society tells women should be free. Our bodies, our choices, our emotional labor. People ask if I regret sending it, if it was too harsh, if I should have just laughed off the mistake and moved on. And I tell them the truth. I don't regret it for a second. Because that invoice did something 1,000 conversations could not do. It made my family see the actual cost of treating my life like their property. They threw me a baby shower for a baby I wasn't having. I sent them a bill for the damage that assumption caused. And finally, they understood. Some lessons cost money, some cost relationships. This one cost my family their illusions about who I was and what I owed them. But it bought me something invaluable, respect, and that was worth every penny of that $17,787.50. Author's note. If you've ever been asked, when are you having kids, as if your worth depends on reproduction, this story is for you. Your body, Your choice. Your timeline. And anyone who can't respect that deserves an invoice. They assumed my weight gain meant pregnancy. I assumed they'd respect basic boundaries. We were both wrong. But only one of us learned from it.